had kids down there at the event. And I think after a few years of tourism getting closer and closer to our world, from say 5-10 years ago, it was never going to happen in Manchester. Never. It wasn't even part of our world, you know what I mean? And then suddenly things started happening, on British mainland, and then...
And you just heard this almighty bang. There was no ifs, whats and buts of what it was. You knew straight away what it was, despite everybody saying, oh, it was a speaker fault or it was an electric fault. You knew what it was, and it was just then a case of seeing what came next.
I think Manchester as a whole, the whole city felt quite personally attacked, not just us as families. The whole city felt wounded.
I hope that it's remembered. I mean, it sounds a horrible thing. I mean, a positive thing came out of an absolutely tragic circumstance, and I hope that it can be remembered that it brought people together.
Darling, if you can't have a glass of Prosecco on your way to the tube station, then when can you?
An absolute life wire, a laugh a minute. He had an incredible sense of humour. I very often was at the receiving end of it, may I add. But he absolutely enjoyed life to the full. He lived life at 100 miles an hour. He just, you almost had to make an appointment to see him. He was that bad. He had such an active social life. He just loved everybody, really. Obviously, I have 5 children, and out of all of them, Martin and I had the closest relationship. That isn't the equivalent of that I loved him more than the others. Martin would have been the one person out of all 5 where I had sort of a close connection, because he just was open to talking with me. We confided in each other. We just spent a lot of time talking to each other, and I could talk to him about anything really, and vice versa. I knew he'd gone probably 12 hours before we were officially told, 24 hours actually. And bearing in mind Martin was a frequent concert goer at the arena, and to the point where he would often leave earlier to beat the crowds. So it would have been feasible that he left early, but I knew from the friends texting that he had been there till the end. So Louise and I stayed up watching the news then, and I'd say about 11:15, I just turned round to her and said, you know, he's dead. And I said, I know he's dead, because in here, it just suddenly, I had this feeling, that he's not here anymore. There was complete radio silence, so I knew he'd gone. I'd lost his connection. That night I realised that, instantly actually, I realised there is no way I can do my job as a psychotherapist anymore. I knew I wanted to go and speak to school children and young people, young adults. That for me became really important. As soon as the anniversary was out of the way, I said to my husband, okay, now my work has to start. I need to start contacting schools, which is what I did.
To think about what positive changes they can make in each of these areas of their life to improve things, not just for them, but for everybody else.
Very naively, after Martin's death, I kept sending my daughters, who still live with me, to concerts, saying, yeah, you must absolutely carry on going. You know, you can't let these people frighten you. You must live your life and attend music concerts, even at the arena they went. And then when I went to a music concert with my husband, a smaller one, at a theatre in Manchester, our tickets weren't even checked, never mind security. And then I thought, well, this shouldn't happen, this isn't okay. I decided to set up a government petition. I called it Martin's Law, not because Martin is special to, you know, compared to the other 21 people who died, but I'd like to give the petition a name so that it's recognisable. And so what I want out of the petition is really ask venues, I want them to ensure, if you pay good money for a ticket, that they're keeping their customers safe. And by that I mean actually mandatory bag searches and metal detectors. I haven't set the petition up lightly. I've put a lot of thought into it. I put a lot of research into it. I had meetings with official people who know about security and safety and goodness knows. And there are ways around it. Lots of measures can be put in place. So I didn't do it lightly. I thought about it very carefully. Yeah, so about 3.5 years ago, I lost my hearing on the left-hand side due to a really rare condition. It affects 1 in 20,000 people. And because I, at the time, was a psychotherapist, I actually felt it was really difficult because I lost one of my working tools, really. My ears were my working tools, and it really affected my work. So, and I felt quite down about it, but then I remembered that I always used to tell my depressed clients to get creative because it's good for the soul. So I thought, why don't I get creative? I might feel better. And I started knitting, and I started knitting the bears. And I found them incredibly therapeutic to make. They make me smile. But really, I wanted to create these to heal grown-ups, really. And then one day I decided I want to write a book about the bears, a mental health, a storybook, teddy bear storybook for grown-ups. And I ran it past Martin, who I knew wouldn't laugh at me. And I self-published a book with 16 bears with quite serious mental health issues and how to resolve them. Martin helped me with the PR. He got me a few interviews with both TV and newspapers. They're meant to be for grown-ups. They are meant to bring playfulness back into people's life, and hopefully they add a lot of smiles to people's faces. They actually have become a real important symbol of peace. So every time I send a bear off, I send them on their way with Martin's thoughts. So they've become really, really important on this peace promotion of mine. Shortly after Martin died, obviously people went back to school and my husband went back to work. And because I couldn't do my job anymore, I was sat at home one morning for the first time on my own. And I went across and bought The Guardian from the newsagent. And there was a photo of the perpetrator on the front page. And I stopped and froze and I looked at him for about 2-3 minutes. And I thought, my God, you're so young. What do you know of life? What would you go and do that stupid thing for, you stupid, stupid boy? And I felt kind of, I can't be angry with him. So I decided to go public. I approached one of the news channels and said, look, I want to publicly forgive him. Being angry isn't going to bring anybody back. It won't bring my son back. And it'll just eat me up inside. I don't think that kind of anger would solve anything. It doesn't mean forgiving is accepting what this man has done. It was totally, completely wrong. But actually, it's not condoning it. It's just I need to be at peace with myself. And by that, I just decided to become as resilient as I possibly can. And forgiveness comes into that for me. My sister from Germany came over when Martin died, and she decided to give me some money to commission a portrait to be done for charity, she said. However, we can neither part with it, nor can we hang it up and look at it. It's too painful because the detail in it is incredible. We will hang it up one day, but maybe in a few years. And in the meantime, to save it from being scratched by the cat, we hide it behind the cabinet. The worst has happened, so I'll do this for Martin. All the work I do is in, with Martin on my mind, really. And I do it for him so that he hasn't died for nothing.
Awkward kid, I hadn't really found my place in the world, I hadn't really found my sense of self yet. It was developing, in fact it was really getting along in the last month or so before everything happened, So I was getting my life properly together before, I started finding my footing. But it weren't to last, I had to redevelop everything all over again. Luckily it came a bit easy this time. I had a spare ticket. I got it for Christmas because I was trying to find myself at that point, trying to find what I was into, what I liked, and pop music. It was one of the things I was fading out of it, but it were a guilty pleasure still. And so I had a spare ticket for Christmas, and someone else cancelled. So I asked Olivia, and she were up for it. Yeah, she were really up for it. We weren't always the closest friends, but we were close. Especially towards the end, we hung out a lot in the music room with everybody, everyone was like eating snacks and it was fun. A lot of my good memories came from in the last month and a half of knowing her. It was fun. She was a nice girl, funny, kind, talented, beautiful, all those characteristics that just make everything a bit more sad, because she had the world in her hands, and she was gone. I thought I'd fallen and hit my head. I thought someone had pushed me out the way as we were leaving, and I hit my head. I was conscious for 2 hours after being knocked out. I saw everything, I saw the most things. I saw the things that haunt me in my nightmares. But this was like another level. This was like, if people have described limbo, it's limbo. It's that stasis of just confusion and agony. You hear about these sort of things and you think that couldn't happen. It happened. And it's indescribable. You can try and describe it, but you still can't bring yourself to accurately describe it. And the people listening, they can't fathom it. It is irreplicable, but you wouldn't want to replicate it. I'd been passed out in the hospital for 3 days on some sort of drug. I woke up on the Friday. I had no voice. They'd had to give me a tracheotomy to breathe in the surgery because my song had been so swollen. 2 broken legs. 7 missing teeth. My tongue was surgically reconstructed. Got hit through the face and under my jaw, tracheotomy. My eye was nearly completely destroyed. Thankfully, I only need a cataract surgery and it's completely fine, hopefully. Across the head. And I think that's about it. A couple burns, nothing major really. But it feels like, you know, I say it's nothing major, but people have died from less. And I still feel like I'm complaining too much. I asked on the Friday morning where he's live. I wrote it. I asked it. I'm hearing that she didn't make it. You know, they just ran over the bedpan because what came out of my throat was just pure black. It was in oblivion. It was a month after I'd been discharged from hospital and I was, you know, in a wheelchair. It wasn't too far from my house. It's only about 10 minutes walk up the road from where I am right now. It was painful. I was trying to control my emotions. I wasn't trying to show any tears, but the second that casket walks in, I just broke down. I broke down for an hour, a couple hours, I don't know. I was just sobbing for the entirety of it. I don't think the shock and the aftermath truly hit me until then. You know, it was sort of the most sobering moment you could imagine. It just disassociated me. I couldn't feel anything real. She wanted to be a singer, you know. A lot of kids give that up at a certain age, but she didn't. And, well, she had the talent to back it up. She knew what she wanted and she was going to do it. And I believe she could have done.
You're listening to Excess Manchester. I'm Clint and I'm joined for the first part of the show today by a young chap who I've got to know pretty well over the last 12 months or so, a person that I find truly inspirational. He's still only 17 years old and he was severely injured in the Manchester Arena attack 2 years ago. He's fought one of the hardest battles I've seen any human being ever go through, and he's come through it brilliantly with a lot of confidence, a lot of humour. As I said, he's an absolute inspiration. His name's Adam Lawler. Welcome back to Excess, brother. How are you? I first met Adam approaching the 1 year anniversary of the arena attack, and I got a call from one of the girls on the news team at Global saying we've just interviewed this lad Adam who was an arena attack survivor, but it turns out he's a massive fan of your station and he'd love to meet you. And I said, well, just get him to come in for a brew. So we'll get him in. I said I could show him the studio.
I actually came in to talk with Clint about everything, about what's happened since the attack, what happened with it, and it was a great moment, you know. It started something really brilliant. Over the next few months, I came in every now and then, had a visit, had a chat with Clint socially.
And he just said, I'd like to talk about it. So we did a 1 hour section where Adam picked the music for 1 hour, and in between the records, we talked about his experience and a lot of the positives, a lot of the stuff about his character, the way he turned out. He's one of the strongest characters I've ever met. Right, we're going to play a record, then we'll come back to Adam. And somebody else I know you saw recently you were blown away with. You saw Jerry Cinnamon, didn't you, play at the Victoria Warehouse?
Yeah. No offence to anyone who I've seen before, but that was probably the best gig of my life. The atmosphere is incredible.
Yeah, and that's just a bloke with a guitar, no band or anything?
One guitar, one drum pedal, and a harmonica. And
how is your harmonica?
She's all right, thanks.
One of my favourite jokes.
Yeah, I always try and, you know, lead into conversations or meet new people, and I don't really want to mention it. I'd rather be about what I am about. I just, you know, I don't want it to be the leading point in the conversation. It might be the thing that changed me, but it's not what I am now. And I think that that's what should be focused on, what I am now, rather than what happened, what was, who I was. It's what's right now.
That's how we met. In terms of what it's like having him as part of the Excess family, it's lovely. He comes in with a big box of biscuits. That's good enough for me. Every time he comes here. I was saying to him before, he's at Marks and Spencer's box of chocolate biscuits. That's his calling card, that, you know what I mean?
Since then, he's become family. You know, he's like one of the most important people in my life. He's someone who I want to model my own happiness off of, because I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing in my life right now. I want to be happy. I would like to do something in media, entertain, and do something that I don't want to focus too much on reformation of anything. I don't want to focus too much on, you know, trying to change the world. I just want to focus on making someone somewhere feel a bit better, help make them enjoy something, make them think about something.
So yeah, he is part of the XS family now, and I'm proud to have him as a friend. And I think sadly, he was thrown into that world of adulthood in a split second. You know what I mean? And he's that, you know, it's a cliche, but that innocence of youth and childhood and that has just gone like that for that fella. You know what I mean? But what he's done is he's accepted his situation, he's made peace with it, and he's cracking on in as many positive ways as he can. You know what I mean? So it's proud to know him. We're going to introduce another record. What are you up to tonight, Adam?
Probably just going to sit down, watch a bit of Netflix, probably do a bit of photography work, and try not to think about how I've probably just ruined my media exam.
Don't worry, they'll let you do it again anytime, won't they? I'm sure. But it's been brilliant seeing you, and
It's great to see you too.
good luck over the next few months. Feel free to pop in whenever you want, as long as you bring in biscuits, yeah?
Yes, as you
Introduce
wish.
his last song. It's a Kasabian record. What is it?
It is LSF, Lost Souls Forever, by one of my favourite bands, Kasabian.
Fantastic. Adam Lawler, you're an absolute legend. I'll see you soon, brother.
See you soon, bro.
I think you see me pull up on a bike full of tattoos, face covered in tattoos, a big beard, and you instantly think that this bike is going to be, you know, rough, antisocial, drinks too much, parties, goes crazy, you know, and smashes things up. And that is the misconception of a lot of people, and it's just not how we are at all. We're a top bunch. It was probably about 15 years ago now, first time I ever rode a bike. We were given a little battered, little 50cc thing with a lawnmower engine, and it just developed from there, and I fell in love with it instantly, and I've been riding ever since. Definitely the areas have changed, the people have changed in the way of, I think there are a lot more of a community now than there used to be. You know, a lot of people used to just sort of leave each other to their own devices, whereas in now I think they're a lot more together, and they're more willing to help each other. Remember like it was yesterday. You know, I was in bed, my missus was pregnant with my little girl, and we was up in bed, and we'd seen that something had happened at the arena, but no one was sure what. There was reports of a speaker blowing up and so on and so forth, and we knew something bad had happened, and then as the reports kept coming in, we ended up being up all night, constantly, you know, raking through the news to see what had happened, and you know, and then the next day it was confirmed that it was a terrorist attack, and I was gutted. I was absolutely just for something so bad to happen so close to home, and affect so many people who were from the community and from the wider community and outside of Manchester. But you know, when you're here, you're one of our own, no matter where you're from. I went in on my own about, I think it was just as they started to put the memorials up in, was it St Anne's Square, and everyone started bringing flowers. So I'd rolled down on my bike and I'd dropped some flowers off, and I'd sort of stood around, and I was taken back, and I was sort of taken back in awe, and just how many people were there. I couldn't believe it. Everyone was upset and people were crying, and there was people there who'd been directly affected by what had happened and indirectly affected people who'd just seen things on the news. Like myself, I was there, I wasn't directly affected by it, but it still turned a chord with me, and just there to show support. Being in the biker community, you know, we tend to do a lot of things charity-wise. You know, we do go on we do something called an Easter egg ride, and basically we go and deliver to Easter eggs and stuff to kids. So I took sort of from there, and you know, we do a lot of funeral processions as well for bikers who have passed away. So I come up with the idea. The planning for the first event, it was very gung-ho. It was thrown together really, really quickly. It was a case of, this is where we're going to meet, this is the route we're going to take, and this is where we're going to end up. We liaised with GMP and let them know where we were intending. Obviously, 800 bikes converging on Manchester City Centre on a Saturday afternoon is a lot to take in. So we had to make sure everything was happy with it. But no, we got quite a bit of support from GMP, which was good. I didn't think it was going to get as much success as it did. To be honest, the first year I expected probably 50 bikes, if that. And, you know, on the day, it blew me away. One minute there was sort of 20, 30 people outside. The next minute there was 600-700 bikes parked outside the where we met the event, J&S. They were just everywhere. It was insane. It was absolutely insane, and it made me feel proud. We just wanted, the main thing that we took from the first year into the second year was we wanted to be a lot more planned, instead of starting the new year and then all of a sudden mid-April, you know, sort of beginning of April, putting this event together. And the year after, we wanted to get it arranged, sorted, and a date set. I remember when Charlotte first approached me, she'd seen the event that I'd created on Facebook and sent across and shared relentlessly. She then got a hold of me and she messaged me, and I was blown away. She was an integral part in that first event, but what we sort of tried to make people aware is we wasn't just doing it for one person and one family who'd been affected. We'd done it for everyone, and that was the message that we were wanting to get out there, that it wasn't just for one family, it wasn't for one group of mourners, it was for everyone. It was for people who, like I say before, not directly impacted by it. It was just a way of showing respect.
We want to keep the memory alive of the 22, and we want to show everybody in the whole world basically that we're all still standing together, and that we're not afraid by what you've done, and we're never going to stop doing things like this. Olivia would love it. She was just coming up into the scooter world. She weren't quite old enough to ride, but she loved it. She loved it when everyone got together, and she'd be dead proud that we're keeping her memory alive.
So I'd gone out. It was the morning of my 30th birthday. I'd come to see some friends at J&S, just to come and have a brew with them in the morning and get out for half an hour. And the ride was fine as normal, and I pulled into the car park, and a car come flying out of a parking space without looking and hit me on the left side, sent me up in the air, landed funny, and my left femur went straight through my hip and pelvis, and then destroyed me left side of my body basically. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrific. I didn't see it coming. You just couldn't prepare for it, and the crash itself was such a low impact, but the damage and that was inflicted by it, I can't even begin to sort of talk about it. It took 7.5 months of my life away from me. I was in hospital with it. It was horrible, and it's still with me now, and I'm still recovering on a daily basis. It's really, really hard trying to get a normal life back after it. I was heartbroken that I'd put all the effort into getting it ready, and so close to the day of the ride I had an accident, and I tried every which way possible to get out of hospital, but there was just no way I was going to be able to come out of hospital to take part in it. So unfortunately, I spent majority of the ride on like FaceTime, trying to say hi to everyone and see what was going on, and that hurt that I couldn't be a part of something that I'd created. Luckily, I had my lovely partner and friends who had stepped up to sort of take over for me and run the day and make sure it ran smoothly.
This is Michael Cox's ride, but I got asked to get involved because I deal with all the scooter clubs, bike clubs, marshals anyway, you know what I mean? So that's why I got brought on board. And with it being so close to home with Olivia and then Charlotte and Paul, I'm just so sorry that Mikey's not here. Mikey's just been on FaceTime, you know what I mean? Heartbroken the fact he's not here. But unfortunately, what we do, accidents happen. We have no control over accidents happening. Okay, but at the end of the day, this is all in Mikey's name. So I'm following his instructions and doing it best I can.
As outsiders, obviously, you're not seeing it because if you're not a part of it, you won't really see it. But the thing is that, you know, we all come together as one, and, you know, we're willing to do pretty much anything to help especially another fellow biker. And when the call's made, we're all there no matter what, whether wind, rain or shine.
Right, folks, we're all here for the same reason. The memorial ride. You all know the route. We're going down to the arena, pay our respects. Then the main venue is the World Irish Heritage Centre.
This is to each and every one of them that lost their life that day.
can't think of not riding a bike. You know, I've had a really bad accident this year, and you know, no matter what, the first thing I'm still thinking about is when am I going to ride again. Yeah, it's the most important thing ever, being a biker, and it's being part of that community that we all pull together and help each other.
1 minute silence. When the 1 minute silence is over, 1 minute, round of applause.
For the first year we done the event, we went and we helped to raise money for the Manchester Children's Hospital, and we carried that on into this year's event as well. So we've done a lot more direct charity raising this year for the Manchester Children's Hospital. The outside support has been absolutely amazing. I can't thank people enough. You know, we've had J&S. They have been happy to close their car parks off now for 2 years for us and fill it full of lovely bikes and have a massive. And that's such a top environment on the day. It's becoming more and more popular now, and a lot more people are becoming aware to the fact. So I keep getting messages now. When have we got a date for the next one sorted? What have we got planned for this year? So yeah, it's becoming an event on everyone's calendar now, which is massive. That's just what I wanted. They're all there for the same reason we're all there for. We're there to pay our respects to the 22 that lost their lives, but not only the 22, to their families as well, to show that we care and to make it a place where everyone can take part.
And a minute round of applause, please, folks.
So I work in a high school, which is 11 to 16s. My role is a student support manager, so within that role it's looking after the pastoral care of the students, safeguarding to make sure that they're happy, to make sure that the families are happy, to make sure that children are getting the education that they need. And to do that, it's covering your basic needs. So it's making sure that you're happy, that you're fed, that you're looked after. And that's my role within school, to make sure that students are getting all their basic needs to ensure they get their education. Both my children absolutely love Ariana. They've grown up with her, watching the videos, the music. And my son and daughter both wanted to go. So she was 19, he was 13. So her and a friend decided that they would take Ethan to the concert. So my mum bought it them for the Christmas presents, and they were absolutely thrilled. And then nearer the time, the other person dropped out, so we had a spare ticket. So I was like, So Ethan was like, come on, Mum, you love her, you come with us. So I was like, okay, I'll come with you. So I ended up having to go and watch Ariana Grande, yeah. Right at the end, it was an amazing concert, and that's what we've got to remember, that it was such a fantastic concert. She's a very, very talented artist, and the concert was absolutely out of this world. And then it was just as she walked off the stage and grabbed the kids, stop, listen, see if anything else was following, see if anything else was coming, and then basically just sort of, it's safety as well, because the place just went mad. Everybody was just running in every direction. My kids run in different directions. I had to grab hold of them somehow. I don't know how I did it, but I did. Grabbed them together, just kept hold of them and just said, you go where I go, when you tell you, and look up. So I made them look up. It made me go and work the next day, and I think that's probably the best thing I could have done. I think to sit at home and to stew and to overthink everything would have affected me even more. So I got up, I went into work, and I had to make sure those students were okay, which thankfully they were. Probably like everybody else, really. You become afraid of life, but you move on. Yeah, so about a week after when the One Love concert got announced, and it was that everybody that attended was going to get free tickets, there was a Facebook group with counsellors that were offering sort of help to people. And within that group, people started asking about the One Love, about tickets, about if they've got tickets or not. So I was chatting to other mums on that group, other people saying, you know, they've not got tickets, they bought them off ticket touts, they bought them off all these ticket sites, not directly from Ticketmaster, and they weren't getting the tickets. So I decided to set up my own group to make sure that everybody that deserved to go to that concert went to it, because that's part of moving on, it's part of healing. So me and a couple of mums all got together. We named and shamed all the ticket touts. We got in contact with these big companies and said, listen, this person bought tickets off you and you should be giving them their tickets to the One Love concert. So everybody within our group that didn't have a ticket managed to get to the concert. And that's initially what the group was for. But then within about a week after, people were putting on the group, I still don't feel right. You know, has anybody been to the doctors? Does anybody feel like this? You know, within no time we had 250 members. So one member is one family, which probably means about 1,000 people. And they need somebody who understands and somebody to talk to. And that's why I've carried on with the group and carried on, you know, the support and everything and advice, and we share information. If one person finds something out, we all share what's going on, and the group's forever growing. It was about the 22nd of June, and there was a documentary on like, exactly a month after the arena, and one of the young people in my group, the support group, tried to take a life that night. So I sat at work the day after and I thought, oh, this is just ridiculous, you know. We're 4 weeks on and I can honestly say I don't know anybody that was psychologically injured that had received help. So when you've got a young person who I think she was 15 at the time was saying, why am I alive? You've got to do something about it. So Andy Burnham was the mayor of Manchester at the time. So I wrote an email to Andy saying, listen, this is who I am. I work in a school, I work with young people. I can't sit back and watch what's going on. So within a matter of hours of sending that email, I got a call from one of the trustees from the Manchester Fund, and he's something to do with the NHS, and he asked for a meeting. I did a massive big 26-page sort of case study. So I turned up in a big boardroom, little old me, with 3 professionals, and I was ready to fight the fight, really. I was ready to say, no, we're not having this. You know, this is what is going to happen. So they sat and they read the case study. You know, he closed the book and he just said, I'm sorry. He said, you know, we really need to look at what we can do for these people. So I give them the details of 120 people in that group. And I think it was a Thursday at that point. And by the Monday, the Resilience Hub in Manchester were ringing those people. So the hub were tasked then with getting in contact with all the other boroughs, mental health services, national health services all around the country, and letting them know that this person that lives in this area, that this is their doctors, and they were in the arena at the time, and they are struggling and suffering from psychological injuries. You know, they weren't physically hurt, and that's what my group's about. It's about psychological injuries. So that's what happened. So within weeks, months, people were getting the help they needed. People in Cornwall, people in Scotland, they were being acknowledged, they were being, you know, listened to, they were getting the help that they needed to do, and that's because of the hub. So the hub send out screening every 3 months to check how you are. If your screening comes back that you're either the same or you're okay, you know, they'll just give you a call and just say, are you sure everything's okay? If it's not, they will ring you and say, we think you need a little bit more assistance. Can we put you forward? Can we do a referral, or do you want to do that yourself? So they're really, really good. They're always there to listen to. They're always there on the end of a phone. And a lot of people have healed and started the recovery process because of the hub. We try and stay positive. It's not a sorrowful group. It's not a sad group. It's not a woe is me group. It's a what we're going to do next. What's our next mission? Who can we harass next? What point can we make next? And that's what we do. You know, people have come together and they've actually found the soulmates, the friends for life, and that's how it is. We try to meet up every 6 months, so the last meet-up was November, so we're actually long overdue really. I think we need to do something nice like a picnic in the park or something like that and get everybody together very soon and sort of meet up again and get the kids together and, you know, all the adults together and have a good laugh together. I think we're very, very overdue, to be honest. Malcolm was gifted to me by Figen. So Malcolm is to remind adults that we're allowed to have a good time. So this is what Malcolm does. So Malcolm's done the 10K with me, he's done a 5K with me. He comes everywhere really, gets up to lots of mischief with me. But yeah, Figen reminds us all as adults that we should be having fun. Anybody could have done it. And I think it was a case of doing it and sticking with it, and it's been hard, you know, it's hard because I've had to do my own recovery and my own healing as well as helping other people, but I think that's the sort of person I am. Ask me about the night and I'll get upset, ask me what I'm going to do, ask me what the positive things are going to do, and I will answer you, because that's what I have to do. I have to look at the positives, I have to look at the good things that are coming out of things. You know, we never look back, we look forward, and I think I'd like to think that I've helped a lot of people do that, and a lot of people get out of a dark hole, and maybe that's why they respect, you know, the work that I've done. But I've made some amazing friends out of this past 2 years, out of what I've done.
So I used to work in the arts. I used to work for a dance company before I had my children, and I did work in the arts, but no, I'm not a singer. I'm still not a very good singer, but I enjoy singing. We were given tickets on the day of the performance for free via my husband's company. Yeah, we actually only decided we were going at 6 o'clock that night. So we live in Lancaster, so we got in the car and drove down, and we actually only just got there in time really for Ariana Grande to come on. Do you know what? It was brilliant, because actually my son Jake had never been to a concert before, so it was his first ever concert. And I remember watching him. He stood on his chair, which he probably shouldn't have done, but he stood on the chair and he was like singing away. And I thought, wow, this is like the best first concert you could come to. You know, the production was amazing. So many young people singing and having such a lovely time. So the concert itself was incredible, and she's an incredible performer. We were leaving as the bomb exploded, but from a different exit. So we were quite lucky, really, on the night. But what I do remember is it was a complete change from a great night. It's just an awful night. It's just, you know, a complete change. And not knowing what was going on, but knowing something really, really wasn't right. It's hard to explain, but, you know, obviously it was still a lot of confusion for a while. So because we were leaving, then I had to get us I wanted to quickly get out of the way. Everybody was running and screaming. And because I'd come into the venue via the station, I, unfortunately, thinking, right, what do you do when everything's going wrong? You retrace your steps and then get back to where you know. But unfortunately for me, that was where everybody was coming out, and that's where the explosion had happened. So, yeah, we were just moving back to that area and got caught up in everybody running out and screaming and kind of the chaos that happened after. I almost can't really remember it. I just remember feeling physically sick, shaking. I had to drive us back to Lancaster where we lived, and that was just it was so difficult to drive back with such a young child who was frightened, and everybody was going, all the police and fire engines were going into the city as we were trying to get out, and yeah, it was horrible. Yeah, so I think the first thing for me really is, because I wasn't injured and my son and I weren't in the foyer, I kind of just went home and just kind of got on with it initially. So I think I didn't sleep for quite a few nights straight after, and just felt really kind of physically and mentally unwell, but also really felt like, well, I'm one of the lucky ones, and, you know, just felt like I needed to carry on, which was okay for a while, or I thought it was all right for a while, but actually I was really, really struggling, just in terms of feeling anxious, waking in the night, having panic attacks and feeling like I couldn't breathe, and just getting on with it, really, not really talking to people about it, just getting up in the night myself and just kind of getting on. And Jake was struggling too, but also we didn't really talk about it with each other. It was really difficult. And in our family, there was just the two of us that went, and I have an older son and my husband, and they didn't come. And so they don't really get it, which is, I don't want them to get it, but that's kind of difficult, you know, so we just kind of trying to get on with it. So, once you became a registered victim with the police, or if you had contacted the Peace Foundation in Warrington, they put you onto a social media site that's called Vianna. And that site is set up specifically for people who were victims of the attack. And it's an online space to chat. So they pass on news about the investigation, for example, or any help. And people were saying how their kids weren't engaging in kind of performing arts anymore because they were struggling so much after what happened. A few of us were chatting and were saying, wouldn't it be great if we actually put a choir together? Maybe if we sang together, that might help and people might do it. And then in January, I remember just thinking, well, maybe we'll just try and make it happen. And actually, this is something that I know that I could probably do because I'd had experience working in the arts before. And some other people on the site were saying, oh, well, I can find the space, which was great. There was a young woman that helped. It was brilliant. And so we just put it out there on Vianna and said, we're going to meet on this Sunday, I think it was. And we met in a church in Salford and just said, come along if you want to. And 18 people came. And yeah, it was fantastic. So yeah, it was just a case of getting everybody together, and then it evolved. So we started with 18 people, and then by the anniversary of the attacks, we got up to about 40 people who were coming regularly. And that's when the media sort of heard about us and started to get involved. So once we performed on the anniversary of the attacks, lots of people saw us on television, and lots of people came forward and said, oh, well, I was there, or my daughter was there, and actually they really need some help, or they're really struggling, so they would like to join. So we had lots of new people join in the September after the anniversary of the attacks. So we then went from, sort of 35 to 40 people up to 70, 80 who we've got now. So we had to keep finding a bigger venue and just making sure it worked for everybody. So the thing that happens is we just come together. There's usually a bit of chat and like seeing each other, catching up, because obviously we live all over. We don't just live in Manchester. People come from Leeds, come from North Wales, lots of different places. So there's a bit of just chatting and catching up. And then we get singing. So we have Sarah, who we employ to come and lead us in our singing. And we usually do that for about an hour or so, or depending on what we've got performance-wise coming up. And then, it's tea and cake and a bit of a buffet and just chat and catch up with each other. Yeah, it's been really positive and it's lovely. So we've been in contact over the time with lots of different people. Some of the real special moments for us have been that where we've been able to sing for the bereaved families. Figen, who I think you may have spoken to, she came when we had a bake-off competition, and she came and listened to the choir, and she was our special judge for that. That was lovely. It was great to meet her and to tell her how incredible we think she is and the work that she's doing, and to thank her for that. We also got the opportunity to sing for Safi's family. Her mum incredibly did the Manchester 10K, so we were able to sing for her. And we've met some of the families along the way and some of the other people, and I think generally it's really positive. So we've had a really positive response, and we talk about this within the choir whenever we perform. We talk about the fact that we try to sort of give a message of resilience and hope, and I think that's important, and I think we really feel that in Manchester, in the city, that people are really positive and recognise what we've done, which is lovely. We are going to perform at an international congress of victims of terrorism, which happens at different places throughout the world. This year it's happening in Nice, and it's been hosted by an organisation who supports victims within France. And I was really lucky to meet the organiser because I was invited via something called the Radicalisation Awareness Network, which is an EU-funded project which is about trying to prevent radicalisation, but working with victims of terrorism fundraising to try and look at different ways of supporting people affected with victims. So I was invited to Bilbao to a meeting that they had where I talked about the choir and was telling people about what we do and how we used music to help us to recover and also to help with social cohesion really within the city. And whilst there, I was told about this congress, and the French guy who was organising it said, "Oh, it'd be brilliant if you could come." And if I'm honest, I think he thought I would bring 6 or 7 young people. And so I brought it back to the choir, asked people if they wanted to do it, and said, well, we're only going if we can afford for everybody to go. So if we get fundraising, let's see if we can do it. And we now have 61 people going. We've fundraised nearly, I'm not even sure now, but basically enough for everybody to go. So we paid for the flights, bar £50 for everybody. And we've paid for everybody's accommodation. And we're all going to go and represent Manchester. Yeah, the great thing about the singing is it meant we came together and engaged in a positive activity. It wasn't a case of walking to a room with people who you've only met online, but you know they've experienced what you do, and having to go, well, my story on the night was this or whatever. And there was a lot of that happened, which is understandable. But many people were really, the retelling of the story is really difficult. Or the kind of saying, well, I didn't get injured, but I did. And all of these things, the sort of hierarchy that happens within that sometimes needs to happen. But what the choir did is, instead of that happening, we came in and we just sang straight away. Yeah. And the singing, well, definitely for me, because I'm not that great, it's a bit like mindfulness. You have to focus on it. So for the time that I would be singing, I wouldn't necessarily be thinking about other things or worrying, because I had to focus on what I'm doing. So I think it's uplifting. It kind of, it helps you to focus and you feel positive, and it helps breathing. There's loads of things that it's really positive for. I mean, still now, it's a bit different now because I've set up the choir, and often I'm involved with things because I'm here as the person that leads the choir. But so many times I go to things and go, I'm not sure I should really be here because I wasn't injured and I didn't lose anybody. So that really helped me to understand it. And actually, that's part of why I set up the choir is to say, if you were there on that night, whatever your circumstance on that night, you're welcome to come to choir and get that help. Because I hid from it for quite a long time. Well, it's interesting because the young people are getting older and, some of them have already left because they've gone to university or things like that. So I just take it a few months at a time, a few performances as we go. I don't really have huge plans. Although, having said that, we have been invited by the families of 9/11. They would love us to go to New York to perform for them or to go there. So I'm still trying to get over the taking 61 people to Nice. Loads of people help, so it's not just about me doing it, but it's still a big deal. It's still a lot to organise. So we'll see how the Nice trip goes, but that would be a lovely next step, is to either to go to New York or have people come over here as well to make those connections. People just, people were involved in the attacks just went that day, a real mixture of people. And so that's what the choir has to represent, really. But it's people from different walks of life, different experiences. And I think that's what's special about it, actually. People have made friends that they perhaps would never have made before, made connections maybe that they wouldn't. And that's been really, really positive. So, I just embrace the sort of, whoever wants to come, who was part of the, unfortunately was a victim of the attacks, is welcome. We have to consistently fundraise for this to continue, and we chip in and we do fundraising and stuff. So that's a challenge because I think the choir offers something quite special. I don't want it to go, but it is challenging keeping it going. But, it's definitely worth it.
I've been dancing about 10 years now. I started when I was 6 and I'm 17. It's just something where I've made a lot of friends through, and I enjoy doing it. It's good exercise and I love doing the shows and performing. I get taught mainly choreography by my dance teacher, and then we put our own spin on how we feel about the dance. So then when we're performing, it shows our own personalities, but we're all doing unison things. I've always been a big fan of Ariana Grande when I've always wanted to go to one of the concerts, and then I got to go to one. It was really good. We went out for food before the concert, and then when we went to the concert, there were warm-up acts, and then Ariana Grande came out and she counted down. She had a countdown on the screens, countdown until she came out, and that was like really excited. The crowd were really excited for her to come out. My mum decided she wanted to leave 5 minutes earlier to beat the traffic because she had work the next morning. So we decided to walk out. It was to the end of the song Dangerous Woman. We went down the stairs and out through the foyer doors. We got to about halfway and that was when the explosion went off. And the lights went pitch black, everything went off. There was a lot of smoke and it was like a big flash of light came from behind me and it threw me forward about 10 feet when I landed and then became unconscious. I didn't know what it was at the time. It just all went in slow motion from when it went off to when I landed on the floor. It felt like it was happening really slowly, but it was actually happening in like split seconds. An alarm went off and that was when I kind of came round a little bit, but also my mum came up to me and she kind of shook me, and that was when I started to wake up and I realised we needed to go outside. I got taken to Manchester Children's Hospital and my mum got taken to a different hospital. My dad came running from both hospitals, like 1 minute he'd stay with me and then the next minute he'd run to my mum's hospital to see my mum. I suffered 18 shrapnel wounds, I got a burn and I got a sever to the nerve in the bottom of my right leg. Well, it was my mum who realised about the photo first when my uncle Simeon went to the shop and he saw all of these newspapers with my face on all of them. And then he bought every single one, every different brand of newspaper and brought them up to my mum's hospital bed and just laid them out on my mum's hospital bed, and that's when she realised this photo of me has gone everywhere. And then she got in touch with my dad and that was when my dad had to tell me about this photo and I saw it and it was not nice, it was horrible. In the freeze frame of the photo, when we came out of the arena, me, my mum and my sister were laid with our backs against the wall, and then the police decided everybody needed to be in categories. I was in category 2 and my mum and sister were put in walking wounded. So that's when the photo was taken. At the moment me and my mum got split up. I'm quite a smiley person, like everyone always sees me laughing, so I had a lot of people say they didn't recognise the photo because they'd never seen me look like that before, look so sad and shocked before. So when they saw the photo initially, they didn't believe that it was me at all until they actually had to look at it closely and realise that it was me. Every time I look at that picture, it brings back everything, every feeling and all the pain and everything what I saw, because everyone sees the photo for what they see of me. When I look at that photo, it reminds me of what I could see, and that was a lot different. I've never been told who took the picture or his name or anything, but someone did mention to me the person who took it is quite famous for being sort of in the right place at the right time to get these mysterious photos, but I'm not sure who took it. I feel like the events come part of my life because I feel like everyone my age just knows me for that. I get that said to me quite a lot, asked about it, so I feel like it is a big part of my life because it's quite rare. Not many people know people who have been in an attack like that, so it's a massive part of my life because that's what people look at me for, if that makes sense. Well, I got told by the doctors that I'd never dance again. So I really wanted to be in the Christmas show, which was in the December, and the attack happened in the May, because for the past 10 years of my life I'd been in every single show what my dance school had done. So I was meant to be in a wheelchair for about 6 months and then crutches. My recovery looked like it was going to be a long time. So I fought really hard and I got out of my wheelchair and I was back in school on crutches by the July. And then over the summer holidays, I was like determined not to go back to school in September on crutches. Like I was going to do everything I could not to. So I did extra hydrotherapy, I did physio, I worked with my dad. I built up like so much strength in my legs. And then I went back in September, went back to dance, and I did like no crutches, everything I could. It was really painful, but I really wanted to do it. And then I managed to do one dance in my Christmas show, and it was the most amazing thing I'd ever done, and I got on an inspirational award at the end, and I've got the trophy upstairs. And then literally 2 days after I'd done my Christmas show, my legs just like collapsed and I had to go back on crutches, but I wasn't even bothered because I just thought, this is what I work for now, so if I need to go back on crutches then that's fine. Dance is really important to me because I feel like it's what kept me going during my recovery. That was my goal, to get back to dancing. So I just pushed as hard as I could to get back into my dancing. So without that, I probably wouldn't have an aim to get back to in my recovery. So dancing, getting back dancing was my goal, and I'd be able to achieve it. I went back just a few months after it had happened. Me and my family went back to the arena just before they started rebuilding it, so it was a bit of a building site, like they had all the cones and everything and big sheets up. But we went back and we all went in one at a time to see how far we were, and that's when I realised how close I actually was to the bomber. I was about 5 steps away from him, and that's the moment when I just thought, I need to do everything I can now in my life and get all my different opportunities, because I was so close to being something completely different. That photograph is just not me at all. Like, before you think all them negative things, think of all the positive things what I've done since that photo was taken, and think of me as being called Eve, not the girl from the Manchester photo, because I don't like being the girl from the Manchester photo. I'm a lot more than that.
Personally, and most other tattooed people I know are not gangsters, nor are they drug addicts, nor are they drunks. Most of us are just creative people that wear tattoos. All it is the same as having jewellery or a t-shirt with a logo on. It's just another form of self-expression, definitely, and I think now is very accepting of it. I've always wanted to do something with art, but I never knew it was going to be tattooing, and I started about 7 years ago, and it was pretty overnight by random. I saw stuff online with realistic tattoos. I was in a job I didn't really like, and I wanted to change my whole life, so I was like, that's what I'll do. So I just quit my job, bought tattoo stuff and learned how to do it, and then became a tattooist. Adam was working for the music press interviewing bands. I knew the band probably from being drunk all the time and watching bands, so I did the interview questions, and then Adam filmed, and that's how we met, and we've been friends for how many years? Yeah, a while. Good decade at least.
She's just incredibly driven. So when I met her, she used to work for the Christians in Manchester at a law firm, and she decided overnight that she wanted to change that and do something more creative. And I remember her telling me, I want to be a tattoo artist, and like most people, I kind of laughed. I thought, I knew she was good at drawing, but I thought it was just such a sort of U-turn of a career change. But to her credit, she did. She walked out of a job. She got a job at a bar. She moved out of a house. She moved back in with her parents. It was an absolute lifestyle change, and she got very good very quickly, but through sort of hard work and determination.
We work in a way where we prefer to meet with people, know a bit about them, see their ideas, but most people that come in aren't artists, so we try and turn what's in their head into something aesthetically good. So that's how we try and approach it mostly. So they don't all have to have meaning. I'm not on that. A lot of people say, oh, what does it mean? What does it mean? Most of the time, nothing. It's just cool. They like it. Looks good. It's all about expression and individuality. So, yeah. It was the following morning. One of my friends who looks after my dogs came round in the morning, and I could see as soon as I opened the door there was something, but he was like, oh my God, and I'm like, what the hell's happened? And then he told me, so I was just a bit shocked at first. Started looking online to see what had actually happened, how bad it was. So that it was obviously still going on. There was still a lot unknown at the time. And that's when I instantly went into, let's see if we can do something, because it just didn't feel right to go, okay, and go and do my normal day. So initially it was we just wanted to help. To me, it seemed the obvious choice to pick the B symbol, because we was like, okay, we need to do something. I'm a tattooist, so I'll do a tattoo. Okay, what's fast? And instantly it was like, oh, the B tattoo, I'll do the B tattoo. And then messaged my mate and was like, what do you think about doing the B tattoo? Do you think people will go for it? what, about 50 quid? It's like, you know, pretty decent price. It's obviously, it was like all the tattooists can put the time and the materials in for free, so all, like, literally everyone can like afford to get this bee tattoo on, more or less. I think some places might have done them a little bit cheaper, which we said it's fine, whatever, let's just raise money, it really doesn't matter. Me and some of the guys who I tattoo with and some of my mates at his studio, we all got together, did one huge like day event from early hours till like 3 in the morning, and we literally just had let everybody come down and get a tattoo. We had so many people come and help, like Adam, his family, his mum and brother, load of my mates, my sisters, everyone came down. There was, I say, people giving out drinks, food, people like ticking names off lists, sorting payment. We had people setting up like little trays of like fast tattoo setups, because of hygiene, we still have to follow the hygiene. But for me to keep breaking down, setting up, doing a tattoo, we had sort of like a factory system where it was like a conveyor belt of working it. So literally everyone that day could get a tattoo. So we managed to raise as much money as we could. Okay, we got an influx of messages of people like, what do we need to do to help? And that's when I roped Adam in heavily, and I was like, help, like, you're good at organising people and stuff. I'm like,
I think because it was Manchester, you know, it's such a sort of a diverse city that everybody wanted to come together, everybody wanted to help. Social media played a massive part in that, which is what part of our team helped with. So we helped reach out to sort of to different platforms, and I had some friends in sort of media and the news, and they all came together and they helped spread the word. But it's an absolute credit to the people. It's one thing reaching out, but people wanted to help. People were approaching us.
Well, the first one I did was my dad, who's never had a tattoo, said he'd never have a tattoo. He literally rang me straight away and was like, I'm being the first one. And it was a nice moment, actually. I never thought I'd tattoo my dad, so that was pretty cool. And he's got it like where everyone can see it, and he made a big fuss about it, but that was quite cool. And I think most other people were very similar. It was a lot of people who didn't have a tattoo, never thought they'd have one. I think the oldest person I tattooed was 79. There was obviously like people with a lot of tattoos as well, like trying to squish them in places. But I think that was one of the nicer things to come out of like a very bad situation, was even like to just look up and you see like really old people and really heavily tattooed people, young people, and everyone was there for that same reason. It literally was everyone right there and then was equal and the same and doing like something good. And watching those people interact and talk and everything, that was really cool. And
but yeah, the tattoo artists are just sort of just an incredible world. Like, everybody wanted to help, and literally all walks of life, different styles, and all over the world. And yeah, it was an absolute credit to them. And I hope that it kind of changes kind of the tattoo taboo. You know, people think of tattoo artists as sort of scary rockers, and you know, some of them look like scary pirates if you look who's in today. But they're the most lovely, genuine people ever, and they just want to help and share knowledge. And yeah, absolute credit to them.
Yeah, we ended up getting messages from different studios, and some of my friends from like Italy and France, New York, LA, Australia. Yeah, everyone was just coming forward with just saying they wanted to help. Some studios, there was no connection to Manchester directly. There was just like, we're tattooists, we want to help other tattooists with what their project is. But there was people who had either lived in Manchester or been to uni here, had friends here. So I think that actually in itself just says a lot about what Manchester means to even people not even from here. You must have saw like England itself, it was like, I think every tattoo shop in England was literally doing the bee tattoos. I don't know of any that said no. So even like looking in like the place like New York and Australia, it was just a bit crazy. Like, oh my God, there's people out there now like, who have this tattoo for what happened here, like on the other side of the world. Before this, I didn't know a great deal other than that it's obviously got links to industry, and I saw it everywhere, like all around Manchester. Just sort of used to seeing it. Didn't really have like to me personally, before this, not a great significance other than I had to actually tattooed it on people before. Not often, I've probably done 3 or 4 over the years where people have just come in saying they want the Manchester bee, and it's like, yeah, all right, but yeah, since this, a lot more.
So the Manchester Bee first came about in the middle of the 19th century, or that's when we think it came about. There's no actual day when somebody said, oh, we're going to put all these bees all over Manchester. But it's a symbol of industry, and Manchester at that time, during the Victorian period, you know, industry was the key, it was the heartbeat of Manchester. It's alleged that one of the first people that actually associated Manchester with the bee and industry was Frederick Engels when he came here and described it as a hive. And I suppose if you were a spectator coming from somewhere like, you know, I don't know, the countryside of Cheshire, coming here, it must have seemed like all these people were just so involved and so going to work and trying to, you know, create cotton, that I can understand where you describe it as, you know, the worker bee would be the symbol of Manchester.
The bee tattoo I've had done very early on, and in fact the lady was going to put it the other way round, and I said, no, actually I need to read the hashtag Be More Martin that's written underneath, because I need to remind myself to be brave and to be strong and to be just more Martin and grab life, and if I don't see it, then that's no good. So I said, you know, it's really important to have it in that way. So, and I look at it and I wear it with pride, of course, although I never thought at the age of 57 at the time I'd be having tattoos. I'm not a big fan of tattoos, and here we are, I've got one. It's the first and the last one I will have, but I absolutely wear it with pride, and it's a constant reminder of Martin for me. The bees, obviously the bees have always been a symbol of Manchester. It's a long history, but I think after the attack, the bees became an additional symbol. It's not replaced the original meaning of the bees, but they have become an additional symbol of what Manchester has gone through. And you see bees not just on this cushion in my home, there's bees all over the house, but actually all around Manchester there are incredible amounts of bees now. I've got them we've all got them on our cars. People, you know, it always makes me smile when I have a car in front of me with a bee on. I'm thinking, yeah, you're standing with us. And it's a symbol of solidarity and unity and love. It's really important.
As someone who has grown up in very North Manchester, in Tottington and Bury, you know, some would say I'm more wank than mank, but I'm on the border, I'll admit that, but it's that cultural identity, you know. I am from Manchester, I am mank at heart.
Yeah, well, it's just something that brings us together, you know. It's kind of a nice little thing to focus on. It just felt like the right logo when we were looking for a logo. A really kind person, a guy called Gareth Wright, agreed to do a logo for us, which was great. And we said something bee-related would be perfect. And I think it is something about that we can hold on to that connects us really. And you probably know, but we call each other our bee family. And we're all a bit obsessed and buying things, you know, lots of bee presents are bought for each other. But I don't know, it's something that's kind of represents what happened and brings us together.
Sometimes when things happen to a place, we want that sense of identity, and the bee gives Manchester that sense of identity.
Yeah, so because we were so busy on the day, I didn't actually get a chance to get the tattoo. So my friend Sam, as a bit of a joke and as a bit of a thank you, got me a bee ring instead. So I've got the ring and not the tattoo, but I fully intend to get one once I meet the right artist.
Obviously, I wanted it to go as big as possible to raise as much money as possible, but it was that sense of the responsibility from that, like, even down to like the news channels and stuff, everyone was like, oh, you've done this. And my biggest point was, I haven't. The whole community has. It was all I've done is message my mate saying, do you think this sounds like a decent idea? That is it. Everything else was a team effort. It was every studio, no matter how big, small, or individual artist. It was everyone that got the tattoo. I would just like to see it help people and carry on. And as far as the bee tattoo goes, I just hope it sort of like give people, like, doesn't matter who you are, if you've got nothing, there's always something people can do to help and be part of it or to give back. Because we was getting, after we'd done the events, we was getting a lot of follow-up people in the months, like, can I come and get the bee tattoo? And as much as I would love to do them all the time. Like, obviously I have like my full-time clients and I can't just say, I've got to stop and do this. So we decided we will have an anniversary event where maybe in remembrance people can come again. It's easier to do it all in one day. And also we give people like who already had the bee tattoo, some people actually come to get things added, like a day or like 22 and things like that. So again, we managed to do like just that little bit more and give people that chance to be part of what happened if they missed it the last time. I definitely think it's always something I'll be proud to have been a part of. I definitely think it shows, like I said earlier, the strength of what people can achieve when they do come together, even if it seems at the time like a small idea or, oh, it's not going to have a big impact, I'm just doing my small thing. That's definitely something that's like, going forward, I can always look back on and think, actually, that really works, so why not try? Why not be involved and why not stand up and do something? I got it on my hand because I don't have many spaces left and I can always see it at least and it's not lost in the chaos of the rest of my artwork. The same as everyone else, definitely. I definitely see it as a symbol of strength and like to be proud to be from Manchester, because I actually never have felt particularly like, oh, I'm proud to be from such a place. I just thought like, oh, whatever. And then after that, I actually had that bit of, oh, actually, we live in a really good city and the people are actually amazing and the whole world is actually behind us right now.
I think the city, you know, I've always believed it's the best city in the world. I mean, my civic pride didn't start on 22nd of May 2017. I've always loved the city. And I've always thought we are special. I can't go and say that we've handled it any better than any other city. But we certainly did a beautiful job of helping out people through it.
Everybody was just so kind. And that kindness actually was really healing for us. And it was also a counter-narrative to the bad stuff. It was an antidote to the bad stuff that happened to us. And it kind of kept our heads above water when underneath it we were maybe struggling quite a bit.
I think Manchester's response was fantastic at first. I think as a country, we moved on very quickly because 2017 was a horrendous year. We had quite a few, terrorist attacks. We had a few tragedies, and I think we moved on very quickly.
The response in Manchester I thought was crazy. When we came out of hospital, we all really wanted to go to where they did all the flowers, where everyone went to put flowers down. And me, my mum, my dad and Luca all went to the square and put down flowers ourselves. And it was just, when we went there, it just kind of hit you like, oh my God, everyone's just so come together in this like time, I feel like.
I think people will be scared to go. Some people more than others. I don't think they should be scared to go. At the end of the day, we're Manchester, we aren't afraid. So, but the arena will always hold now this thing, that it'll always have this aura around it of everyone knows what happened there, and people shouldn't be afraid to go there. It was one person who decided to change that, and we shouldn't let that get in the way of going and enjoying our live music in Manchester.
We're resilient. We've been attacked before and we came back and we'll continue to come back. Manchester, that's what we do.
Ultimately, it's just another day, innit? It's just one that's going to be a bit harder than others. Got to try go through that, do my best, and I think I will. I think I will do my best. And I think I'll do it in memory of Olivia, in memory of the other 21 people, in memory of those who aren't as much here in this moment as they should be, because they're thinking about other things, because they've been through things, just gotta have a better day for them.
There's so much negative thoughts, but also I think, well, I survived and he didn't win, so I should be I should feel overpowered. I do feel powered.
Well, initially I thought I can have a bench in this tree, in this park opposite my house. And unfortunately, that's not possible anymore. They don't do it anymore, but he suggested a tree. And initially, he told me it's got to be a native tree and told me to go away and think about what tree I want. And I settled on a birch. And when I spoke to him the next time, he said, I've been looking up your son, and it seems to be that he was quite a colourful character. He needs a little bit of something more special. Let's forget the native trees. I'm trying to propose to you a ginkgo biloba tree. I hope I pronounced that right, but anyway, it's an Asian tree, I think with Chinese origin or something. And he said it's a very sturdy tree. He told me they found fossilized seeds dating back to 270 million years ago, so it's from dinosaur times. They also found some trees after the Hiroshima bombing, and also found some near volcanoes. So he said it's a very, very hardy tree. And he said, best of all, they can last up to 1,000 years, long before you and I are gone. And that really, really appealed to me. Plus the tree, I looked it up on the internet, and everything about the tree has healing properties. It's you can buy tea for it, you can buy tablets and potions and lotions. So it sounds very appealing, and it's a slow-growing tree, so it's only a little one. But I had it planted sort of in October last year, and really happy to see it from my balcony every morning, having a cup of tea, and yeah, it's good. So it'll outlast all of us. Yeah, as I was researching trees and what sort of tree to settle on, I found this beautiful saying about the meaning of trees, and that they are a symbol of order and harmony in the world, really, and that really appealed to me. So I want this tree to be a symbol for future generations, all about order and harmony, really, and peace. So hopefully when we are long gone, youngsters will come and read the plaque, and it'll put a smile on their face, and by that time it's going to be much taller. In an ideal world, I'd love to have some children and their families sitting underneath it and have a picnic. That would please me, that thought.
Running through the streets, too young, they shouldn't hear these screams. My heart froze as I watched in fear. My innocence stolen from me. There's no quick fix, just feel the hurt, the guilt will fade and love serve. We stand as one, love will always win. I'll fight this war with love, even though it's haunting. full with love, even though it's haunting.